Okay, so it's time for another Car Talk Thursday. It is pretty fucking warm in my car though. So I'm gonna try to tough it out, but if there's a point where I'm like, it's way too hot, I'm getting way too sweaty, I think I did it last week too, where I was like, I need to call an audible, timeout, I will go into my room and just fucking finish it. But since I'm here, let's go ahead and go. So I'm going to talk a while about Umineko for a second. So I finished book 4. I don't know if I said that last week. I probably did. But I finished Alliance of the Golden Witch. I said, okay, now what do I want to do for a reading project? Clay is a little bit behind because he was playing Tears of the Kingdom. He wasn't reading Sea Cats. Like, I don't really want to go ahead and start part 5. I kind of want to wait for him. What do I want to read? Well, maybe I should read Higurashi, because I love Higurashi. I love the anime. And after reading Fate, and it made me go, I've always liked Fate, but also thought it was kind of dumb. Reading the VN, maybe do a full 180. I'm like, well, if I already love Higurashi, maybe if I read the VN, I'll love it even more. So that's an option. I've had Dune for a while. I'm interested in reading Mistborn. I've been really meaning to read House of Leaves, put a pin in that. These are all good options. But then after a day of not reading Umineko, my brain said, no. You can't wait no more. So I started reading part 5, and I specifically picked up the manga. Because I've heard that the manga is a phenomenal adaptation. Is it as good as the VN? Probably not, just because the VN can have more information. It has the voice acting, it has the music, which of course is not in the manga. And all of that shit in the VN is top tier. I love the voice acting, I love the music. But it's literally written by Ryukishi 7, the guy who wrote the story, so I know in terms of the actual writing and the information, it's going to give me everything I need. Apparently it's considered fantastic. The artwork is great. There were so many times I was just I'm going to save that panel, because that looks gorgeous. Holy shit, I love that expression right there, blah, 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 blah. And I also can get through it a lot faster. It took me a week to read through Alliance of the Golden Witch. It took me, I don't know, maybe 29 hours to read through Dead of the Golden Witch. So I haven't really started reading part 6 yet. I read the first couple chapters, and then my brain was actually I've read a fuck ton of Sea Cats lately. I'm going to take a few days off, and I'll probably get back into it pretty soon. I might get back into it later today, probably around the afternoon or the evening. But between the end of book 4 and the entirety of book 5, a lot of fucking shit happens. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go in spoiler mode. I'm going to give my theory. So I will say it in blue. And I'm wearing a little bit of blue. I think you can see it. So that's the shade of the next bit of dialogue. This is my theory for what the fuck is actually happening in Umineko. The Ushinomiya family gathered on Rokenjima for their family conference in the 1980s. I don't remember the exact, I believe it's 1986. And then Ange's year is 1998, because I know it's a 12-year difference. I want to say it's 86, but so we'll say that. There were no more than 18 people on Rokenjima at that time. One of those 18 people was planning to murder the other members at the conference. Whether they wanted to actually kill everybody, if there maybe was a couple people they wanted to spare. Not a hundo on that, but they wanted to start some killing. We will refer to this person as Beatrice, or Beatrice. Beatrice had multiple ways she was considering doing this. And she wrote those down and put those in a bottle. Did a full message in the bottle. This is the account of what happened. One of those was titled Legend of the Golden Witch. Another was called Turn of the Golden Witch. Excuse me. So what you are reading, when you are reading those two visual novels, those two episodes, You are writing Beatrice's potential accounts of what happened. The only person to survive on Rokkenjima, or at least the only person to get off of Rokkenjima and like people acknowledge, because maybe there's someone else who got out that I don't know about, was Eva Ushiromiya. After Eva returned home, her niece, Ange Ushiromiya, was taken into her custody. And Eva hated her because she lost her son, and now this person was going to inherit everything. There were a lot of rumors about what actually happened on Rokkenjima, and if Eva was purely innocent, if she got a bunch of people killed, if she started everything, if she had a co-culprit, etc., etc. And once the messages in the bottle started getting found, people started writing their own interpretations of what happened. Such as Banquet of the Golden Witch, Alliance of the Golden Witch, and End of the Golden Witch. These are all, for all intents and purposes, these are fan fictions written by mystery aficionados, occult aficionados. Like, we specifically have met the person, I don't remember her name, but there was a mystery writer who claims to have written those three. The actual plot of Umineko, like what is genuinely happening, is Ange Ushiromiya, after the death of her Aunt Eva, is trying to discover what actually happened on that island to my family. Did everybody die? How did they die? And who killed them? She is reading through those messages, the ones written by Beatrice and the ones written by other people. And she is trying to determine what the truth is. The tea parties between Battler and Beatrice are the two sides of Ange's brain. The Beatrice side is the one saying, like, essentially, like it was a witch, it was, some magical bullshit, whatever. The Battler side is the one that says, no, there is no such thing as magic. If all my fucking family died, it's because someone was like, I guess to put it another way, the Beatrice side is the one that's saying Aunt Ava didn't do it. The Battler side is the one that says Ava had to have done it because there had to have been a human culprit. Or maybe it wasn't Ava, maybe it was another member of the family, and then Ava killed that person in self-defense. Lambda Delta, the Witch of Certainty, is on Beatrice's side. This represents Ange's genuine belief, her certainty, that she will not find out what happened on Rokkenjima. The certainty that all of her family is dead and she is alone in the world. Burncastle, the Witch of Miracles, represents the side of Ange who is desperately fighting to find that miracle. That maybe someone in her family got out, and that maybe she will finally get closure by finding out what happened. But given the fact that Burn is this really cold-hearted piece of shit that honestly seems to enjoy people suffering from what I've seen in Part 5, it also kind of represents Ange's... I don't want to say this. I guess it's almost like her doubt. Even though it's like, this is the part, it's almost kind of like in the Lambda Delta side. Like, while she is fighting for it and she wants to get that miracle, she kind of knows she never will. And that this is, in fact, a futile effort. That is what I believe Umineko is. As to who Beatrice is, I personally know that, so that's not something I am going to be saying here right now. But in terms of the more, like, macro level shit, that is my belief. If I am correct, This is one of the craziest things, like, I've ever read. Probably gonna end up being one of my favorites. That is so interesting. I love how, oh gosh, I'm getting super fucking sweaty. Like, look at my hand. Look at my fucking arm and my hand. It is how wet it is. Oh my goodness. I have to go inside, but I'm probably not going to. We're going to keep going as much as we can. But, oh, fuck. But sorry, I just noticed there was a fly on my car. Ew, I got him too. This is fantastic. I think this is super interesting. The fact that, in that regard, Umineko goes from being a murder mystery to just a character study about one person is, it's so cool. Like, I fucking love it. Now, there is a part of me that goes, okay, this is such an interesting theory, and if it's true, I'm going to be super happy that I figured it out, and, like, I love it. There's a very good chance that I'm just completely wrong. I don't want to be wrong, but part of me is like, if I am wrong though, I'm really curious to see where it ends up going, but I'm having a great time with it. So I'm gonna take that House of Leaves pin out, because Clay showed me, Jose showed Clay, and then Clay showed me the recent Doom mod that came out, the My House, which is just based on House of Leaves. And Clay has read House of Leaves. He's the reason I actually really want to read it. And he was like, dude, this is the coolest fucking shit. Like, if I hadn't have read it, I would think this is a cool mod. There's a lot of interesting shit. I love it. But there's so many things that are just direct references to the book. And it makes playing this fucking impeccable. And, I don't want to go into a lot of spoilers about it, because I feel like this is the kind of thing where it's like, just play it for yourself, see all the cool shit, or like see a playthrough, like be able to experience it like that. So in as vague a way as possible, there's something at the daycare that I believe you also encounter in the cemetery. When I saw what you encountered in the cemetery, I was wheezing with laughter. I believe I laughed, I didn't actually time it or anything, but I was wheezing for like 45 seconds straight, just it was so funny to me. Play it, watch someone play it, please experience it, because it's really cool. There's parts of it that are really scary, really creative, and then there's shit like that, which is fucking funny as hell. So my writing, that's been going pretty okay. I've been struggling with the chapter I'm on. I'm so close to it, but then I can only write like a few sentences, or I can maybe get a paragraph in, but it's not really clicking. I finally finished drafting it last night. Oh gosh, the armrest is fucking wet. I don't know how fucking hot is it right now. We're only in May. But I finally finished drafting it, so now I'm actually gonna be able to do a lot of editing. I am looking forward to that. I don't know what a lot of people think about editing, but for me, it's really hype because A, if I'm editing, that means I'm done with the bulk of the work. But it always feels good to kind of go through it and see, okay, this sentence is just dog shit. How do I fix it? How do I make it better? And then other parts I'm like, oh, this is flowing really well. This is really good. Oh, now that I've kind of figured out more shit about the story or the character, this line that I wrote like 10 months ago makes so much more sense. So much more better. Holy shit, I'm actually really good at this. Like, I love shit like that, man. For game projects, so I did finish Tales of Eternia. I have my notes written. I don't know when I will record a video on it. I'm planning on doing it today, but I might not have time. I'm certainly not fucking doing it in this hot-ass car. But that's, I do want to do that soon. Overall, I did like the game quite a bit. I wouldn't say I loved it, but I definitely liked it. So now that I'm done with that and Clay is out, I'm going to just be playing Abyss by myself. Where I'm at now, again, without going into any specific spoilers, Luke just cut his hair. So I'm at about the end of the first act, which I don't love, if I'm being honest, but everything I've heard is that that's the part of the game that you kind of suffer through. to get to the rest of it, because the rest of it is so fucking good, but it wouldn't be as impactful without that first third. So we'll see how the rest is. I sincerely hope it's as good as everyone says. Okay, so I just have Star Wars Visions written down. So I watched it when it came out. I watched like 3 episodes on Friday, 3 episodes on a Saturday, 3 episodes on a Sunday. And I have notes. I've been meaning to make a video, but I'm also like, I don't really have much to say. Did I like it? Yeah. Some of the things that really stuck out to me was the Screechers Reach episode, particularly the way the Banshee looked. I thought it looked fucking amazing. And, excuse me, the Aardman Studios episode I really liked because it's an Aardman thing. Now I'm kind of blanking on the rest of the episodes, and that's the thing. It's like, even though I watched them, I liked them. Okay, I'm going to finish this all, and then I'm going to fucking go inside. This is terrible. Oh gosh, this is just like Kirei eating the curry, and then it's like, it's super hot and miserable when he's powering through it. I am not a masochist, I swear. Like, I liked them, but I can't, even the ones I'm like, man, I really like this one, I could barely remember. The Pit, that was the other one I really, really liked. It even took me a while to think of it. And then when I look back on season 1, I'm like, what are the ones I really liked? The Ninth Jedi, Lop and Ocho, The Duel, The Twins. Like, I can remember them a lot easier, even though it's been a lot longer, because I liked these. I had a good time. I just didn't feel like I had a whole lot to say. But anyway, speaking of which, we're going to call a quick timeout, and hopefully I can finish this and not have technical difficulties, or, get fucking sunstroke. Okay, so I'm not getting cooked alive in my car anymore, so let me continue on with my car talk video, which I guess is now more, it's like last week, it has gone from a car talk video to a room talk video. And I'm just gonna probably say, going forward, you can really expect most of my videos to be in my room. It's just more comfortable sitting on the carpet than it is sitting in the car. It is still nice in the car, but not when it's this fucking hot in the car, and it's really fucking hot right now, so this just feels a lot better. So the next thing I was going to talk about was Oshi. Oshinoko, also known as My Star, or My Idol's Child. And it's one of those where every time I look at that title, I'm like, oh yeah, this has a really fucking weird premise, man. Like, oh, what the fuck am I watching? But then when I'm actually, like, watching an episode, I'm like, oh, right, it's really good. I like that it's a series about, as I've said before, it fills the niche that Act Age had, which is, this is something about the acting industry, or it's really about the entertainment industry as a whole. And it's kind of the ways it can affect a person. What you have to do to maintain your stardom, how competitive and cutthroat it can be. How you can be like a child actress and be at the top of your game, and then when you get older, you start getting a lot less work, and how your reputation kind of suffers, how the way you need to treat people. And with these last couple episodes, how the public's perception of you can really affect your perception of yourself. Akane's story fucking broke my heart, man. Like, I think the last episode was episode 7. Which means it was episode 6 was the one about her degenerating mental state ending in a suicide attempt. I almost fucking cried, man. It was really hard to watch, but in a good way. Not like, oh man, this show is so bad. I can't believe I'm watching this. This is terrible. I'm like, this is heartbreaking. But it's like, I don't want to watch someone go through this. But it is well done. I feel like it's being well told. I want to see where it goes because I want to see this girl become okay. And it was the start of the last episode, the scene where she's in the police station. She's talking to the police, and her mom is there. And her mom's like, yeah, I knew she was on a show, but I didn't know she was feeling like this. I didn't know what was wrong. Why didn't you tell me? And then Akane, while just fucking weeping, is saying, because I didn't want you to worry. And that resonated with me. It hit me hard. When I was a kid, I remember very specifically 4th grade and 5th grade. So about 9 to 10 years old, maybe 9 to 11 years old, somewhere in that range. I was bullied a lot. And I specifically remember it was 4th grade. I was bullied every day. 5th grade was not every day, but sometimes the bullying was worse than it was in 4th grade. So quantity and quality, you know. And I remember every time I came home and my mom would ask me like, hey, how was your day? I always said, almost without fail, my day was good. My day was fine. I had a good day. Something along those lines. And I always justified myself by thinking, well, aside from the bullying, I had a good day. You know, aside from this one part of my day that ruined the whole thing, the rest of it was fine. So I don't mind saying that because I don't want them to worry. And as it went on, it really affected like my self-esteem and my self-worth. So it kind of went from a point of, I don't want them to worry, and it kind of became, I'm not worth them worrying over. Which is not a good thing. It's really not a good place to be mentally or emotionally. And just that one line in the episode was like, man, I've been there. I've really been there. And I didn't cry, but I got really fucking close, man. I kind of hate watching this show because, like, it does that shit to me. But again, like, I think it's a really good show. And, like, I guess a perfect example of the emotional roller coaster. So it starts with that. I'm almost crying. And as the episode goes on, everyone's being really nice to her. They're like, hey, she is our friend. You know, we knew she was getting some shit online, and we were trying to help her with it. We didn't know it was this bad. So we're going to do everything we can to help her. We're going to do everything we can to really smooth things over with the public because our homegirl does not fucking deserve this. Then after that, they're like, okay, well, do you think you can be back on the show? If you don't, we completely fucking understand, but, you know, it is your call. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. Well, then, this is going to sound bad, but hear us out. Don't be yourself. Because, you know, when you're authentically you on a reality show, if people don't like you, it hits really hard. But if you're playing a character and people don't like the character, well, you're just acting. It's not a big deal. So she's like, okay, I can do that. You know, I love acting. Maybe I probably would have an easier time if I was playing a character. What kind of character should I be? And they're like, I don't know, Aqua, what kind of girl do you like? So he just describes I. And so Akane at that point is like, okay, so that's the kind of person I need to be for this to work. And I, like, this guy has, like, been really nice to me and really good to me. I do want to make him happy. So let me be the kind of girl he likes. So she just starts, like, you know, doing some research on I. Like, she goes to the library, she goes on the computer. And then you get this scene where she's... It just reminded me of Elle from Death Note, where she's, like, at a computer. I think she's in the L pose, just taking notes, putting shit on a board like she's fucking Charlie from It's Always Sunny with the fucking face and the board behind him. And she's like, okay, you know, blah, 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 you know, she always had this kind of face, which implies she had this kind of childhood, blah, blah, blah. Take a note. And the music goes from, this is nice, you know, she's getting into, like, she's doing some research for character, you know, she's got to try to do this for the guy she likes. It gets really fucking creepy with the music and the lighting and just, like, the way she's talking. Oh, it's just so interesting. It's so good. Like, How did you do this? How did you make me get, like, really invested in the sweetness of the moment just to creep me out? I remember I was looking through my phone for, like, what's a good meme to just show my reaction to this, like, to this emotional roller coaster. And there's a picture I have of Kaiba, and his pose is something like this, like, and the subtitle on it literally just says, fuck, it's a trick! And I laughed so hard when I saw that. I was like, yeah, this is what this show does to my emotions. It's just always fucking pulling trap cards on me. It's great. You should watch it if you haven't. So moving on from that, I need to talk about sports for a second. So, the NBA Finals is almost upon us, and the Stanley Cup Finals is almost upon us. In the NBA Conference Finals, we had the Nuggets and the Lakers, which ended in a 4-game sweep. And the Heat and the Celtics excuse me, where the Heat are up 3-1. They were up 3-0. Now they're up 3-1 because the Celtics were able to steal one in Miami. No team in the history, in the history of the NBA, has ever come back from a 3-0 deficit. 3-1 deficits, not super common, but they happen. They feel like they're a lot more common recently, and then as I was thinking that thought, my brain immediately said, especially if your team's getting coached by Doc Rivers, which is really fucking mean-spirited, but also not untrue. But no one's ever come back from 3-0. Do I think the Celtics team will be the first to do so? If I'm being honest, no. I think, is Game 5 tonight? I think Game 5 is in Boston tonight. I think the Celtics do win Game 5. I think they stay alive. I think they have just like a crazy great game at home to, try to build some momentum and like really make this feel like it could be a series again. But I think Miami closes things out in Miami in a Game 6. I feel like Game 6 will probably be relatively close most of the way, but then by Miami, I just mean Jimmy Butler, really takes over in the fourth quarter and just has like one for the ages. Then you get the Stanley Cup, which is the conference finals. There was the Carolina Hurricanes and the Florida Panthers. And then on the other conference, which I don't know if they're also East and West. I don't follow hockey as much. The Vegas Golden Knights and the Dallas Stars. Oh, hey, Bub. Are you trying to get into the video? Oh, he's right. Oh, no, Bahamut. You can't sit there. You're completely in the video. I can talk about hockey without people seeing me, but at some point I might need to move you, Bub. So, while Bahamut's taking over the screen. The Panthers were the lowest seeded team and have been going on a just fucking crazy run. The first 2 games against the Hurricanes ended in overtime. The third game was a 1-goal game, and the Panthers were up 3-0. And they beat them again yesterday, so they have swept the Canes and are in they're in the Stanley Cup Finals. And I remember, because I was watching the Survivor finale, which quick been in that. As I was watching the Survivor finale, I was kind of thinking to myself, it's like, I do want to check the scores, see what's up. So I flipped to the hockey game, and immediately the Panthers scored. And then after the Survivor finale, by that point the score was 3-2 in favor of the Panthers. I don't know, 15 seconds after I'm following, which by the way, okay, so I've been listening to a YouTuber, it's Samwell B12, gotta give him a shout out. I've been watching his play-by-plays of the Stanley Cup playoffs. I'm enjoying them a lot, gotta give him his props. Sorry, I'm actually trying to be really expressive with my hands, but Bahamut is still blocking things. I don't want to move him, that'd be rude, but yeah, I'm gonna just move my phone camera just a little bit. Okay, that should be fine. So, I had to give Sam his props. But I turned onto his broadcast, or his stream, 15 seconds later, the Canes score and tie the game. I'm like, holy shit. That's twice this game where I've, tuned into the game and someone has scored. That is nutty. Holy crap. Are we gonna go into overtime again? And then the Panthers score the winning goal with 4 fucking seconds left. That is insane. Holy shit. So they're in the finals. And then Vegas and Dallas, their first 2 games went into overtime. Vegas won them both. Then Vegas dominated in Game 3 with a 4-0 win. I believe their Game 4 is tonight. This might end in a sweep. They might stay alive. But it was really crazy just following all these games and from these 2 different sports. I mean, wait a second. In 3 separate conference finals, it's 3-0 in favor of one team. Is everything going to fucking end in a sweep? 2 of them have, 1 of them hasn't, 1 is TBD. It's kind of exciting to me, I'm not going to lie. Not to say that I'm always rooting for someone to get swept, because, it's always, you always want someone to at least get 1 game, like a gentleman's sweep, but it's just kind of fucking crazy. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to talk about was Survivors. Let me take the pen out. I know after last season's finale, I made a full video on it. I was like, I need to talk about this after watching it. I have a lot of shit to say. I didn't do that with this one because I just didn't have as much to say.
Not to say I didn't like the season, not to say I didn't like the finale, not to say I didn't like the winner, because I did like all of those things. But it was just kind of like, yeah, that makes sense. That tracks. Like, I kind of figured Lauren was going to go at 5. So this was my theory going in. Carolyn is going to win the season. I've been thinking that since, if not episode 1, like episode 2, I thought she was winning the season. Like, okay. Can Carolyn beat Jam Jam in a final 3? I think so. It's like, I think so. I don't think she would dominate, but I think she can. Can she beat Heidi in a final 3? I think she can. Does she beat Carson? I don't think she beats Carson. What about Lauren? I think Lauren would kind of have some of those Raw 2 votes on lock. Maybe not. But I think Lauren could like really give her a run for her money. So I don't think Lauren or Carson are getting to the final 3. So Lauren's probably going out at 3. Or excuse me, Lauren's going out at 5. I think Carson's going to lose fire, and I think Carolyn is going to be the one to beat him. So while watching the episode, I'm like, there's Lauren at 5. Carson didn't win final immunity. Everyone's talking about like how he's the big threat. He's probably going to lose here at Fire. Holy shit, is this actually about to happen? And then Carolyn does not play him in Fire. I'm like, oh, I was wrong, I guess. Heidi won final immunity, gave it up to take out Carson, the big threat. And I remember watching it and how the jury is just like, go on, Heidi, go Heidi. And it's not that people hated Carson or anything. It seemed like everyone like really liked him, but they were rooting for the upset. Like, if she's gonna make this ballsy move, let's see if it pays off. And they're like, go Heidi, yeah, good job. She makes the fastest Fire in history, which I thought Gabler did last season. So maybe that's a new trend. I'm not sure. And I remember just the sentiment on Twitter, you know, as it being live show, and people like, Heidi just won the season. Like, that is such a big move. That is a huge flashy thing. Giving up immunity like that is super ballsy. Taking out who people perceive to be as the biggest threat is huge. That is a great final impression on the jury. I mean, I guess penultimate impression, because the final impression is always the final tribal. It's like, she just did a lot to boost herself in their eyes. And at the 11th hour, she could really win. But she didn't. She got 1 vote. Carolyn got none. And Jam Jam like fucking carried. Props to him. I loved Jam Jam. Essentially, my thing was like, I'm rooting for Carolyn to win. I would love Carolyn to win. But honestly, I'd be really happy with any of the Tika 3. I fucking love them. I'm really glad that Heidi's Fire play did not win her the game. I don't want to say I'm really glad Heidi didn't win, because A, that's just really fucking mean-spirited to say, and 2, most importantly, I'm not on that island. I don't know all the things that went on behind the scenes. You know, like, anytime you're trying to vote someone out, everyone's like, oh, this person's such a huge threat, this person's such a huge threat. Our perception from what we've been shown is that, like, well, Kane didn't seem to be that huge of a threat, but people were saying that to get him out. Jamie didn't seem like she was that big of a threat, but people were saying that to get her out. Like, is that just, you can throw that around and people just believe you, or is it more just because we're not seeing a lot of those social interactions behind the scenes, we don't know how, like, threatening someone's social game or likability truly is. So I will by no means say that anyone is undeserving to win the game, because we just don't know. However, based on what we were shown, it seemed that Heidi's game just did not quite seem as strong as the Tika 3's game. Whichever one of the 3 seemed to kind of get the most votes. And if it was like their game, like the Tika 3 game is really good, but Heidi's also played a really strong game, and the Fire's what kind of pushes her over the edge because it's such a ballsy move, I get that. But if it's their game is like a 10, her game is like a 4, and then Fire puts her at an 11, I don't like that. Because to me, it makes it seem as though you're invalidating the entire rest of the game based on one challenge. And that just doesn't work for me. I don't mind the Fire making challenge at 4. Some people prefer the vote. I think there are some people who really like fire. I like them both for different reasons. The vote, because it's a vote. It's Survivor. It should come down to a vote. It's like, I won final immunity. Let me decide who I want to take with me. Now, if it's a final 2 season, you win in the final 3 immunity challenge, you are directly deciding who to take. In this one, there's still some kind of wiggle room, but you're probably going to get your way because of the power you have. But a 1v1 showdown for the last spot is something that's very hype, especially if the right people are involved. For example, the Cops R Us fire making at the end of, I almost said Worlds Apart, but that's not true. At the end of Winners at War, given how close they were, how this was the alliance deciding the game, it really felt like whoever wins this is winning the season. This is $1 million fire. And that's really exciting. Like, if it was 2 members of the Tika 3 going against each other because of how close they were all season, that would have felt really exciting. Be like, one has to take the other out. Holy shit. The Gabler and Jesse from last season wasn't as much of a, this is really intense because of, like, these two's relationship, if it had been, like, Jesse and Cody, maybe. But the idea that you're watching this and going, Jesse is the front runner, this is $1 million challenge for him, 1,000%. And he just can't pull it off because he's been ass at challenges the entire season. Like, there's still strong narratives that can happen with fire. You can also argue that shit can happen with a vote, like in the Cops R Us. Them having to finally turn on each other right at the end could have been more interesting. Here, the Tika 3 knowing one of us has to go, who do we vote out, is also something that's really interesting. So, and I've also kind of I haven't truly done the math, but just kind of looking at it, how people keep talking about fire, it's this resume builder, it's this Survivor bucket list item, winning immunity, winning final immunity, finding an idol. Did I already say that? No, I didn't. It's finding an idol, winning immunity, and making fire, winning final immunity. Those are huge things. I'm why making fire? Making fire in general on the island, that feels right. But the fire making challenge, really? How often has someone made fire and then won the game? It has happened a lot. But a lot of the times it's Ben was the front runner going into that. That was just his ticket in. Tony was the front runner going into that. This was just kind of his ticket in. But then you look at something like Mike beating Kara in David versus Goliath. Yeah, he won the fire-making challenge. It didn't really help him at Final Tribal. Mike beating Jonathan in 42. Yeah, he made fire. He won. Didn't really help him. Deshaun winning fire in 41. Didn't really help him. Heidi doing this. Didn't really help her. It's not the resume builder that people seem to act like it is. It's essentially just another challenge. In a sense, it's that is now the final immunity challenge. Because it is you win this or you go home. It is a 1v1. And that's cool, especially if you are able to position it where I took out the biggest threat in the game. But at the end of the day, it is another challenge. It should not be the end-all, be-all. And I'm really glad to see in this season it wasn't. And looking at most seasons, it kind of doesn't seem like it is. A lot of the time it's if the person that made one fire won the season, it's because they were the front runner going in. Chris Underwood, of course, is the big exception to that. But even you could argue if Gabler was as well. But with Underwood, it was everyone on the edge just kind of said, this is what an edgy has to do to win the game. And then he went and did it. So that one's almost kind of there was almost a kind of a conspiracy behind the scenes, and it paid off. So it's its own kind of weird fucking mess where, yeah, the entire rest of the game wasn't validated because Edge is a weird season. But regardless, like I said, ultimately, I don't love fire. I don't hate fire. I don't think it should be the end-all, be-all. And I'm glad that it doesn't really seem to be. The only other thing I wanted to talk about in this video, let me just check if that's correct. Actually, no, because I was going to talk about the Sony showcase, but I don't really have much to say, so just the games that really stuck out to me as being cool, aside from shit that we've seen, like Final Fantasy and Street Fighter, The Plucky Squire. This is a game where you're, like, in a pop-up book, and then you escape the book and are, like, walking around like a kid's room, and it's some, like, weird Toy Story kind of shit, and I'm like, this looks really cool, actually. This looks really creative and fun. Phantom Blade just looks dope as hell. Spider-Man 2, which we knew about, but actually seeing the gameplay, I'm like, fuck, I never played the first one, but it looked amazing. This looks amazing, too. No pun intended. I'm like, this actually looks amazing. I really want to fucking play this. And Metal Gear Solid 3, which I did not know was getting a remake. I don't know if that was something that was rumored, if that was something that was leaked. But watching the trailer, I'm like, what is going on? Just a bunch of, like, animals getting eaten and hunted. This is just that one fucking scene. It's the Wonderful World scene from Madagascar. I wasn't expecting that to be a trailer for a game. Okay, that's gotta go. Oh, shit, that's sick. That's Metal Gear Solid 6. No, wait, whoa. That's not 6. That's a young-looking dude. Oh, this is Snake Eater. And then the music fucking started. I'm like, dude, it is Snake Eater. Holy shit, that's fucking hype. That was the one thing in the show that made me like, oh, this is super hype. The only other thing to say in this video is the Little Mermaid live-action remake is coming out today. I am gonna go see it. Am I super excited for it? No. Do I think it's gonna be a great movie? No. So why am I gonna go see it? Excuse me. If I'm being perfectly 100% honest, because it sounds like a fun thing to do a video on. That I can go see this movie that people are probably going to be talking about and say, I did see it, so I can contribute to the conversation. It's really good, despite what you might think. Or, it's really bad, as you were expecting. But, since I've actually seen it, I can talk. Okay, I have to tilt my camera a little bit so you can see this. Just look at the baby. Sorry, like, I just noticed the way he was sitting. He was, like, almost right in front of the camera. I just wanted to show him off a little bit more. But I do plan on watching the movie this afternoon, so I will try to make a video on it when I get back. I might not even take notes before I do. I might just be like, I just watched it. Because, like, what I try to do with something that's in theaters is, like, no spoiler, mild spoiler. It's The Little Fucking Mermaid. You've seen the movie. If you haven't seen the movie, you know what the movie's about. I am not expecting them to do anything crazy with it unless they go with the original ending of the fairy tale where she turns to foam. It's Disney, so I'm not expecting them to do that either. I don't think there'll be anything to spoil. Essentially, my video will be like this. Is the acting good? Is the music good? Because The Little Mermaid, the music needs to be impeccable. And, like, was Ursula the best thing in the movie like she hopefully should be? And also, I guess, like, how did the fishies actually look? Because the poster's like, hey, look, it's a realistic crab. Yeah, because that's what I love about The Little Mermaid, is the realistic crab. But I'm looking forward to the experience of having seen it, rather than the actual watching of the movie. But The Little Mermaid is one of my favorite Disney movies. It has one of my favorite soundtracks. So hopefully, at worst, they nail the sound of the movie, and I'll at least have had a pretty decent time.